بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي خلق الخلق ليعبدوه وحبب إليهم الإيمان ليذكروه وأسبغ عليهم نعمه ظاهرة وباطنة ليشكروه صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الذين صحبوه ونصروه إلى يوم الدين وبعد. فقد قال جل وعلا في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولما توجه تلقاء مدين قال عسى ربي أن يهديني سواء السبيل. صدق الله العظيم. The value of a good action is multiplied due to one of two reasons. A, it becomes scarce, it becomes rare, nobody is performing it, and those who display it, exhibit it, perform it, the reward is much greater. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said before Qiyamah, lies will become common. So the value of honesty is so much greater. In the time of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, leave the Muslim, Abu Sufyan, before becoming a Muslim, when he was a non-Muslim, he himself said, the hadith of Bukhari, when Hiraqal had summoned him and questioned him regarding Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, Wallahi lawla al-haya min an ya'thuru alayya kidhban lakadhibtu anhu. If it wasn't out of the fear of the stigma of a liar, I was tempted to lie about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But I couldn't lie. Abu Sufyan wasn't a Muslim. The hadith of Bukhari. And of course, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that honesty will lead you to virtue and virtue will lead you to paradise. And ultimately, Allah knows best. But his honesty there, Allah blessed him with Iman and he becomes a Sahabi radiyallahu anhu. And prior to Qiyamah, Nabi alayhi salam said, honesty, loyalty will become so rare, so uncommon, حتى يقال أن في بني فلان رجلا أمينا, that people will say, you go in there, you must meet this man. He's got an amazing quality. So what's it? He's honest. I say, oh, okay. Honesty, loyalty will become so rare that it will stand out because the norm will be lies, deception, delusion, hoodwinking, deceiving people. That's how it would become. And of course, the second time when the value of an action is multiplied is when the days are great. The moment is great. So it's multiplied. Ka'b Ahbar Rahmatullah alayhi said, the value of charity on Friday is multiplied. Charity is great and charity on a Friday is great. An act of virtue in Ramadan is great. And then in the last 10 nights, which Allah has now blessed us with, it is multiplied. So obviously it's upon us to maximize and optimize and get the maximum out of it. In a world where everyone is so self-centered, in a world where everyone is so self-centered and everything is just about benefiting yourself regardless of the detriment to others or society as a whole. Yesterday I was speaking at the local prison for Jummah and I was speaking to the inmates, and of course I was saying to them the importance of boosting your spiritual immunity against the viruses of sin that is out there. Because the world outside is so cruel, brutal and harsh that regardless of the implications of that drug on that individual, the family and the fabric of society, as long as I can make a quick quid, tough luck to whose marriage breaks. That's how ruthless, that's how merciless, that's how wicked, that's how nasty the world has become. But do you know you are selling this? Do you understand there's a marriage on this marriage? This pill is going to cost the marriage. This is going to cost the child without the father. This is going to be a breakup. This is going to have a ripple. Listen, I'm making a quid. Hey, tough luck. You know, drink responsibly. Drink responsibly. Winners know when to stop. That's the advert for gambling. Winners know when to stop. Drink responsibly. So it's a world where as long as I'm getting benefit, you know what, I cannot care less about others. In a world like this, where it's so selfish, it's so self-centered, all the more we need to remind ourselves that Islam is all about selflessness. Islam is all about caring for others. So there were many companions that had vowed different pledges to the Prophet ﷺ. Some would vow a pledge that I won't ask anyone anything. So if he's mounted on his conveyance and his whip would fall down, he'll dismount, which could be quite challenging and cumbersome to dismount and pick it up himself. Jarir bin Abdullah Bajali, he was a very good looking companion in terms of his features and look. He was given the title the Yusuf of the Sahaba in his appearance and his looks. Dihya Kalbi radiyallahu anhu was the companion in whom Jibreel alayhi salam used to come in his form. So often the Sahaba did not know it was Dihya Kalbi radiyallahu anhu, it was Jibreel. So he was also someone whom Allah had blessed. Of course, in terms of character, every Sahabi was outstanding. So Jarir bin Abdullah Bajali radiyallahu anhu says, I had vowed to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, bay'atu an-nabiyya sallallahu alayhi wasallam ala an-nushi li kulli Muslim, that I'm going to go out there with a passion and a mission and a vision to benefit every Muslim. How we go out and look at every person as a potential, how I can milk him, how I can extort, how I can exploit, how I can draw. I'm going out to see how I can enhance, better, and improve the life of every Muslim. Imam Nawawi then makes mention of a narration under this hadith in Sahih Muslim that Jarir radiallahu anhu went to purchase a horse. And the owner gave him, told him the price is 500 dirhams. Jarir radiallahu anhu said, no, I think you're undercharging me. What? Did you ever heard? You can up the price. So he said, okay, no problem. 600. You know, there was a friend of mine's from South Africa. He was studying in Medina, learning Arabic. So he says, now, you know, you learn in Arabic in the beginning and everything. So he takes a taxi. So as the taxi, now he was trying to converse. So he asked the taxi driver, how much? He said, 15. He said, 20. He meant to say ashar, but eluni aure ne bolwa ma bolaigyo. So the taxi driver told him 15. He was trying to say 10, but because he didn't have his figures in place and he wasn't yet familiar, so he said 20. The taxi driver said, okay, good luck, no worries. Jarir radiallahu anhu, read it. Imam Nawawi quotes it. He says, okay, 600. He said, no, it's still not enough. Make it more. He said, 700. He said, okay, no problem. Make it more. In the end, Jarir radiallahu anhu gave him double the price to what he was selling it at. People asked him, Jarir, what you paid for this horse? He said, I paid so much. He said, I can get you 2 for that price. He said, never mind, you can get me. I could get it myself. But when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam ne zaban aayi pe. I gave the Nabi of Allah my tongue. I'm going to go out in the world to bring goodness to others. Once we were in Makkah as well. You know, this happens now when you're in a different country and you're not too familiar with the bills and the notes and the denominations, and you tip someone with a high tip thinking it's 5, meanwhile it's 500. I kid you not. I kid you not. So it was myself and my wife, my friend and his wife, and then the cleaner came and everything, and she tipped him with a 500 riyal. Right? Not consciously. And then she realized it. Oh boy, oh boy. She was like, you know what, information desk, reception, please. There was a gentleman that came up to room 304. Can you please send him urgently, urgently? There has been, anyway, he was honest and he came back. But I mean, it's a bit, I don't know. Sorry, yeah, no, yeah. No. Sorry, can I have my 500 back? Yeah, you worth a 50, man. I mean, okay, yeah, you know. La ilaha illallah. In a world where everyone is so self-centered, may Allah make us amongst those who can go there. And let me be frank, the pleasure lies in this, not in that first one. In just giving yourself and just taking out of people. You won't be peaceful within yourself. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you got to make money. There's no doubt about it. We've been objective here. But with a passion to see, this is an act of ibadat. This is an act of ibadat. Allah speaks about Dhul Qarnayn in the Quran. He was a ruler, he was a king. Many says he ruled right over the earth. And Allah speaks about 3 of his journeys. So the Quran says, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ ذِي الْقَرْنَيْنِ قُلْ سَأَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْهُ ذِكْرًا إِنَّا مَكَّنَّا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا. We had given him rulership, we had given him power, we had given him authority. And that is what naturally, commonly, averagely breeds arrogance. Because you got it all. So now you think you're anchored. Now you think you're in a position of power. But look at how he managed himself amidst what Allah had given him. We always hear the Urdu poem, Salam us par jisne badashahi mein faqiri ki. Salam us par jisne badashahi mein faqiri ki. Salute to Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, who opted for humility amidst all the amenities that Allah had put at his disposal. So Allah told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I am making you my Nabi, and you are going to be the best of creation, and you have a choice to have a kingdom with it or poverty. But either way, Nabuwwat is secured, and he opted for poverty. I mean, what is Ramadan? What did the Prophet of Allah say? Aju'u yawma wa ashba'u yawma. One day I'm hungry, so I can beg, and one day I eat, so I can be grateful. When a person is in perpetual, I've said this each year and I'll say it again, we're all searching for happiness. And throughout the year we aspire for it. And we have the most lavish of spreads. But nothing really tickles our fantasy. But Ramadan is the only month from a 5-year-old to a 55-year-old. Everyone for 30 days is excited for one meal. For the 11 months of the year, you're going out, you're having a big spread, you're having a big barbecue, you're having a big social dinner, whatever. Yeah, it's okay. It's decent, nothing to write home about. It was mediocre. Yeah, it was good. I guess it was good. But Ramadan, everyone is excited for the same meal. Why? Moderate deprivation results in gratitude. I say moderate because you don't deprive yourself totally. Moderate deprivation is just a sense of humility. That is why we've been taught to arrive at the table before the food and to leave after the food. So in both instances, we show in our dependency because the food doesn't need us. It will rot, it's over. The problem is me. If I don't get it, I'm going to rot. I'm in need of it. So Zulqarnain, he traveled his first journey. قُلْ سَأَتْبَعْ إِنَّا مَكَّنَّا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ مَغْرِبَ الشَّمْسِ. So the Quran defines and determines the first direction of his travel was in the west. And he went to the furthest most point in the west that he could possibly travel. حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ مَغْرِبَ الشَّمْسِ وَجَدَهَا تَغْرُبُ فِي عَيْنٍ حَمِئَةٍ. And he's seen the sun setting. यही सबक देता है हमको हर शाम का सूरज ए इकबाल, मगरिब की तरफ जाओगे तो डूब जाओगे. यही सबक देता है हमको हर शाम का सूरज ए इकबाल, यही सबक देता है हमको हर शाम का सूरज ए इकबाल, मगरिब की तरफ जाओगे तो डूब जाओगे. So he went to the westernmost part and he seen the sun tipping in a murky pool of water. Not dipping in, but the reflection. Like you would go, when you go for safari, people like a sundown. When you go to the coast, you like to see a sunset, you like to see the sun rising. So with the reflection on the ocean, it just enhances the whole spectacle and it just gives another whole soothing look, feeling and atmosphere. So he went to the westernmost part and he seen the sun tipping. حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ مَغْرِبَ الشَّمْسِ وَجَدَهَا تَغْرُبُ فِي عَيْنٍ حَمِئَةٍ وَوَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا قَوْمًا قلنا يا ذا القرنين إما أن تعذب وإما أن تتخذ فيهم حسنا. He was then given the choice how to deal with them, to invite them, give them the guidance, etc. he spoke to them and, guided them, etc. There's a whole detail. I want to move on to the third journey. Then the second journey, ثم أتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس. So he was amongst those who many say wherever he traveled, he was the accepted power and authority. Him and Sulaiman alayhi salam were the two Muslim rulers, and Namrud and Bukht Nasr were the two non-Muslim rulers who had absolute power wherever they traveled. The second journey was in the direction of east. حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس وجدعها تطلع على قوم لم نجعل لهم من دونها سترا. He found the sun rising upon a group of people. You travel here, oh, it's so strange here. You get these, YouTubers and those that are globetrotters, and they'll go to different countries and post here. This is how people do things here. This is in this country. It's like this. And people share, experience, learn, interact, appreciate diversity of culture. It's just every country has its own flavor and its own ambience. So when he got there, he observed there's a people here, تَتْلُعُ عَلَىٰ قَوْمٍ لَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُم مِّن دُونِهَا سِتْرًا, who had no formal or adequate shelter against the rays of the sun. So they were in the dressing, they had this very modest dressed. There were no real adequate cover in their homes and their dwellings to give them shelter. That's as the Quran speaks about it. ثُمَّ أَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. Then he goes in a third direction. And the Quran does not define it, but the scholars suggest that the format is indicating that it was in the northerly direction. حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ بَيْنَ السَّدَّيْنِ وَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمَا قَوْمًا لَا يَكَادُونَ يَفْقَهُونَ قَوْلًا. And he comes to a point, the Quran says in Surah Al-Kahf, that there are two mountains and there is like a pathway, and on the one side of it, there is people that are inhabited there, that are living there, and they can barely comprehend or communicate. They can barely comprehend or communicate. That's how the Quran describes them. لا يكادون يفقهون قولا. So, yakadun in Arabic, yakadu means to get close to, and yafqahun to comprehend. They didn't even have the rudimentary, the elementary, the basics in place to get some communication across. They seen this man with muscle, with clout, with power, with vigor, with entourage, with cavalcade, with equipment and resources. They said, hey, this is a good chance. And there are so many people out in the world that are looking at you and I with the eye of hope. Don't disappoint the people whom Allah has directed to you. Allah has made you and Allah has made me a means for the fulfillment of someone's need. We ought to be grateful. There are so many people that are looking at us in our capacity, either through our economic muscle, or through the prominence that Allah has given us, or through the fame that Allah has given us, or through the context, or the skill, or whatever Allah has given us. So these people couldn't even talk properly. I'm giving you the text of the Quran. And suddenly they see the present. Oh, just like Quran, I'm having a flash in chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa. Allah says, when you're winding up your estate, someone has passed on and you're winding up, then many people who don't have an allotted share in the estate might arrive at your home in anticipation. وَإِذَا حَضَرَ الْقِسْمَةَ أُولُو الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ فَارْزُقُوهُم مِّنْهُ. Here, ulul qurba refers to the non-warith ulul qurba. So one is the relative and the heir who's got a stipulated share in the Sharia, that from the father, from whatever, this is your share. But then there are other relatives who's a cousin, who's distant, but hey, that's, I know my father used to say that was his cousin, so it's like a grand uncle to me. Now in hope they come because they know the estate is been winded up. They do not have a fixed share. It's not mandatory to give them. But the Quran urges you to give them because it is meritorious. The Quran urges you, and the Quran says, فَارْزُقُوهُم مِّنْهُ, from the share that you get in. Collect your share and from there give them something. So he came to this place and now he met with these people who could barely converse or communicate. But somehow, either, the scholars say, either through an interpreter or sign language. I mean, how difficult it would be for me if somebody comes to ask me for help and he cannot, but you need to bolta any hour to. I mean, get someone to talk and then maybe I can help you. Can you imagine, you're right on top, you have absolute muscle and clout. There are people here that are right at the bottom, so humble, so simple. They don't even have the basic fundamentals of communication and they need desperate help. And they are quite frustrated because of the constant invasion of Yajuj Majuj. The message I was saying is, in a world where everyone is self-centered, it's just about yourself. That's it. Whether we're looking at like the alcohol industry or the drug industry or whatever it is, whatever these cartels are, it's just about, that's it. I always say, whenever we get onto motorway, and suddenly we see a backlog, and we see bumper to bumper, and you see a chopper hovering, and then it's, there's an accident, oh man, gosh. We are so consumed about our own schedule and the delay that we won't spare a moment of empathy for the victim of that accident. As someone's brother is dying. But that's irrelevant. I mean, my traffic, my whole program has been delayed. It's a second nature. That's, oh man, gosh, I wish I could just check my Google Maps before I hopped onto the motorway. I don't know where's the first exit. Nothing. It would become dead. That's how life has just become. News bulletins can give you a tragedy, earthquake, when this on the Richter scale so many died, and now for your sports report. Sometimes I ask myself, where's the world gone? Where's the world gone? It's so robotic. It's so mechanical. Like, right? It's just there's no more emotions, there's no more empathy, there's no more feelings. When we seen the initial crisis in Gaza versus now, what has happened to us? You get to the Kaaba, day 1, you're crying. Day 2, there's no tears. Day 3, you're laughing. Day 4, you're barely making it to the haram for your salah. As it's so rapidly, it just drops. So they came to him and they said to him, in whatever way they could reach out. I'm giving you the verse of the Quran that Ya Dhal Qarnayn, O Dhul Qarnayn, نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا. Please, we are desperate. There's this Yajuj Majuj that invade our place here and they encroach on our privacy. Can you erect a barrier here and just give us some safety against him? And we've gathered some funds according to our meager amount, and we will offer it to you in appreciation for your services rendered. But you know what, you passing through, and this is where suddenly there's some meaning to our hope. Otherwise, it's gone. I mean, I've done relief work in different places, and I've seen this here. It's very challenging because you're reaching out to a particular community, right? So there's tents here in the desert. Maybe, you know what, the charities decided you're going to be taking care of 100 tents, but there's 10,000 tents. And that's the reality. So it's quite fulfilling to do that 10 or that 100 tents, but then when you just look adjacent to that, you realize this is a drop. Now, you'll find that these people will swarm you and overwhelm you and crowd you, which sometimes can be frustrating, but you got to appreciate for them, this is a glimmer of hope. Another car with a foreigner and an NGO and a charity coming here can be 3 months later. So that this is my hope, whatever I can get at its best level, to get something out of, because now it's gone. Once you're gone, it's over. Nobody can, because you see how remote and how distant these places are. And that's my message. That may Allah make us amongst those people who can add value to the lives of people. Wherever we go, we can improve someone's life. We can leave. And we leave people like that making dua for us. We leave people like that making dua. Fortunate is the one who features in the pre-iftar du'as of the fasting without requesting them to make dua for you. We all requesting, that's fine, that's okay. No. I'm saying fortunate is the one who features in the pre-iftar du'as of the fasting without requesting. Because you've left such an indelible impression on that man that when his hands just go up, your name just flows on his tongue. Fortunate is that one. But, Maghrib time, please think of me. You're going for, that's fine. It's nothing all that bad. But the former is the real fortunate one. Some people leave scars, others leave marks. May Allah make us amongst those who leave marks and not scars. Some people leave scars. May we never leave a scar on anyone. But yes, may we be amongst those who can leave a mark. And we know we all have been touched and moved and inspired by people in our lives, and how we still remember them till today. If we can, continue that legacy. So what did Zulqarnain say? He said, now that's the point. Ma makkanni fihi rabbi khair. Listen, I can't take money from you people. You put in together your last bobs and cents and quids and last bits here. Allah's given me a lot. It's like, ma makkanni fihi rabbi khair. My Allah's given me adequate. Help me in physical labor. I'm going to erect this barrier and I'm going to block this area so Yajuj Majuj won't cross over. I don't want a dime from you. Allah's given me enough. May Allah give us that spirit. The ulama say there are 4 categories of people when it comes to doing, helping, empowering. It's mentioned in Madarikut Tanzil. So you have one is a bakhil, a miser. What is his nature? يَأْكُلُ مِن مَالِهِ وَلَا يُوكِلُ غَيْرَهُ. He eats and is very protective and possessive over his own, that nobody can have access to it. And then worse than him is a shahih, because Hafiz ibn Qayyim rahmatullah alayhi has written, and I really find this amazing, the greatest benefit of virtue is not the reward. The greatest benefit of virtue is when you keep on performing it, it takes you closer to a greater virtue. And the greatest setback of sin, apart from the punishment, is it brings you closer to a worse crime. Because if you started doing this, then you're that closer to the one beyond. So if you mising, then you're going to slip away further, and that is shahi. What is shahi? لا يأكل من ماله ولا يوكل غيره. He just gets an excitement in amassing. He doesn't feed anyone, nor can he eat his own. The excitement becomes just the amassing, but you just don't have the ability to use it, to enjoy it, to appreciate it. And then the third person is sakha. Sakha is ya'kulu wa yukilu. He enjoys what Allah gave him, and he gives others to enjoy from what Allah gave him. But then there's one greater than sakha, and that is Jude. Alladhi yukilu wa la ya'kulu. Is whatever Allah gave him, he says, I ate enough. Now it's time to feed. I had enough umrahs in my life. Now it's time to send. I refurbished my home enough times. Now it's time to refurbish other people's homes. And wallah, I've seen the joy that brings to people is very different. I said the other day, our condition is, when a person is not changing himself, he doesn't go on a diet, but he wants to lose weight. So what he does is, he changes the scale every time. He tries a different scale. Wait, let me try that scale. Wait, let me try, no, not in pounds, let me get one in kilos. Let's see the one in kilos here. Let's see the one in kilos. You know, when you make it sound the temperature is really high, then don't go Celsius, go Fahrenheit. It's the same thing, man. It's just a diversion and a different maths, man. Miles and kilometers. You're just appeasing yourself. You're playing with semantics. So you're not changing yourself, but you're changing the scale in the hope to see that, you know what, there's drop in weight. No, you got to change yourself. So the fourth category is one whose excitement is to give others. May Allah introduce us to that pleasure. For us, we live in a world where it's, the whole problem with the interest system is what? Interest is a system designed to exploit. Interest usually is a system because the system on which it operates is that I can't borrow you without a return. It doesn't work. The conventional banking system, the module, the entire operation is what? If I'm giving you, I need a return. Islam recognizes a return, but there is a concept to that. That is when you sell an item and you have a markup and you have profit. But if I'm giving you money and money is just making money, then that's interest. So Islam tells me if I borrow you money and you use that, then your happiness is my blessings. Your happiness is my blessings. By doing that, you're not exploiting the poor and making the poor poorer. Because as it is, he doesn't have, you're giving him a loan on interest, and then you look at the actual cost, and then you see the compounded interest. May Allah save us. In fact, Imam Abu Hanifa says, the most severe ayah in the Quran is regarding interest. It's mentioned in Madarik al-Tanzil. لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة. Don't eat compounded interest. Doesn't mean you can eat if it's not compounded. It's just like saying don't swear in the masjid. Okay, so come outside and I'll swear you. No, it doesn't mean that. It means the crime is worse in the masjid. It doesn't suggest that it's fine outside. لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة. Then what does Allah say? وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Fear Allah so that you can be successful. وَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي أُعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ. And fear the fire which is designed and prepared for the disbeliever. So when you look at the preceding verse and the subsequent verse, the fire which is designed for the disbeliever is being sounded out to the believer who is dabbling in interest. Imam Abu Hanifa says that ayah sounds the most strongest warning. That's it. It's just a system out there. It's just everything. How can I make something? How can I work? So here I was telling you, Sayyidina Zulqarnain, he said, Ma makkanni fihi Rabbi. Now I'll tell you another point here. He said, you help me. Atuni zubar al-hadid. Bring me sheets of steel. And then they level it to the two mountains. And then of course, he ignites it. And then he pours molten copper. The Quran gives the whole breakdown of how, the skill and the ability and how he solidifies this entire gap. Atuni ufrig alayhi qitra. Generally, when we do something for someone without taking any return or remuneration, we say, well, it doesn't have to be done professional. I'm doing him a favor. Even if it's casual and haphazard, it's fine. I mean, I've got no binding contract. There's no compulsion on me. It is a grace. It's optional, so it's fine. So we won't give him the best product. He says he assisted someone, which the Quran tells us. He didn't take a dime from them. And he says, I have built this wall so solid that they won't able to penetrate it, nor scale it, nor will anyone demolish it till Qiyamah. We don't give that service after we take money. We won't give people service like that, even if after we charge them whatever our charges are. My opening comments, in a world driven by selfishness, it's time we reverse it and bring the fresh air of selflessness. That's the spirit of a believer. فَمَسْطَاعُوا أَن يَظْهَرُوهُ وَمَسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ نَقْبًا. They weren't able to scale it. They weren't able to penetrate it. And he said, هذا رحمة من ربي. This is the kindness of Allah. فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكا. Yes, before Qiyamah, Allah will reduce it to smithereens. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, when he had to leave Egypt, where there was a warrant of arrest on him, and obviously he had aided someone, and in aiding the victim of oppression, he then disciplined the perpetrator, and then he gave him a bit of a blow, which proved to be fatal, and claimed his life. And there's a whole story, and we know about it. Allah speaks about it in the Quran. And then suddenly there was now a search for Musa alayhi salam. So he had to leave in the cover of night. He had to move. خرج منها خائفا يترقب. He left there in fear, in panic, watching over his shoulder. Oh my Lord, he was innocent, he helped someone. قال رب نجني من القوم الظالمين. Oh Allah, save me from the tyranny and the oppression of Pharaoh and his people. And now he's traveling, unknown to him in which direction he's going. He doesn't have food, shelter, clothing, just whatever he's traveling with. And he travels, some say it's an 8-day journey, some say even beyond. Now the point I'm saying is, when he got to Madian, he was more in need of help than he could possibly help. He was more in need of help. His profile was foreigner, on the run, anxious, uneasy, haven't adequately eaten, haven't adequately rested. But the first sight that met with his eye was 2 girls with a flock of water at a well. Just look at some of the amazing reflections the ulama have deduced from this narrative. Subhanallah. So when he got there and he observed this, then his empathy, his kindness, his softness as a Nabi made him approach these sisters modestly. Ma khatbukuma. Sisters, everybody are taking their flock and giving it water. Why not you? La nasqi hatta yusdira ar-ri'a. Because there's so many shepherds here. If we get any closer, we're going to rub shoulders. And it's important nowadays. People are messaging as well. You're going for Umrah. You're doing it on the mataf. But you've got to be conscious of yourself. I do appreciate the volumes. I do understand the multitudes of people. But listen, Allah is watchful. And you know for yourself what you're doing. So, let it not be that in any way, Allah forbid, your gaze roams at the precincts of the Kaaba. Uthman radiallahu anhu was very modest. He was delivering a talk. Somebody entered in the gathering. He said, يَدْخُلُ أَحَدُكُمْ وَآثَارُ الزِّنَا بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. Some people have entered in the gathering and I can see that immorality is dripping from their eyelids. So someone said, أَوَحْيٌ بَعْدَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Is it that the doors of wahi are still open, that you could intercept this info of what happened outside? He said, no, وَلَكِنْ فِرَاسَةٌ صَادِقَةٌ. It's not revelation, but it's the foresight and the intuition and the inner eye, in the inner eye of a believer. The pious, they have this firasat. توسمت فيك الخير والله يعلم أني ثابت البصري. The firasat, the foresight of a believer. فإنه ينظر بنور الله. You would see the pious have foresight, vision. They don't just see with a shallow eye. They got a deeper eye. They got a deeper eye. When Umar bin Wahab came to Medina after Badr, and he came and he seated his camel outside the door. And Umar radiallahu anhu looked at him. He said, O Nabi of Allah, my gut feeling tells me this man has come with a sinister motive. Wallahi ma ja'a illa li sharrin ya Rasulallah. O Nabi of Allah, my gut feeling is Umar bin Wahab is coming with a nasty agenda. So Umar radiallahu anhu intercepted him and brought him before Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Da'hu ya Umar. Umar, leave him. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Udnu minni Umar. Umar, come close. And the greater a man's piety, the more Allah will bless him with that. Ours is hilarious. You get these youngsters that phone me. No, I've been chatting with her, dating and courting, but we want to do istikhara. So now, because we do istikhara at night, so 5 o'clock we stop talking. 5 o'clock we stop talking because after Isha we want to kind of have a little clean period. A clean period. Yeah. So that there's no immoral disturbance, and the relation is platonic. The relation is a bit platonic. At 5, we become clean and pure. Pak mohabbat. કે ડોહોએ શાદી કરી હોય શું કરે પાક મોહબ્બત બીજું હું. Wallahi ma ja'a illa li sharrin. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Umar, what made you come here? He said, I came to negotiate the release of my son. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, then why is the sword dangling from your neck? He said, what did you do in Badr that is going to do anything today? قَبَّحَهَا اللَّهُ مِن سُيُوفٍ مَا أَغْنَتْ عَنَّا يَوْمَ بَدْرٍ. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, tell me the truth. You, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam telling Umar bin Wahab, and Safwan was sitting in the haram, and Safwan said, there's no more joy in life after Abu Jahl died. And you agreed and concurred with his sentiments. Then you said to him, if it wasn't for your wife and your children, you would have come and killed me and assassinated me. Then he said, he'll look after your wife and your children, and you are here to kill me. That's when he stood up and he read the kalima. He said, we were only 2 people. We looked around us, there was no whisper of any third person. If you know this, then there is a divine being, and I bring iman on him. Umar radiallahu anhu's eye, Wallahi ma ja'a illa li sharrin. O Nabi of Allah, this man has come with an ulterior motive. Anyway, I was saying that, what did they say? We cannot rub shoulders. If we get any closer and we will be rubbing shoulders. And on that I said, when we perform in tawaf, may Allah grant us taqwa and taharat and understanding, because your gaze could roam. One of my teachers mentioned something very profound. Some great alim was coming to South Africa. So I told him, Hazrat, we're going to the airport, you joining us? He said, to receive a pious person is preferable, and to roam your gaze is forbidden. I don't want to go there in the hope of preferable and potentially commit the forbidden. To be associated to a spiritual mentor, bay'at, the ulama say is mustahab. To do your islah is faraz. We think association is faraz and islah is mustahab. To be connected to a spiritual mentor is preferable. That's not the aim. That's the stepping stone to the aim. The aim is the reformation. We consider the connection to be mandatory and the reformation to be optional. May Allah grant us the correct understanding. Time is running out. So, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu was salam, he needed help, but he offered help. He put them aside, and then he gave water, and he sent them off. They obviously got home, and the father said, you back home early today? He said, yeah, we met a kind man, and he was so good. This was the teachings of the house of Nabuwwat. So he immediately said, Ma ahsantum ya bintayya, oh my daughters, you know better the house from where you come. If somebody is kind to you and is a stranger, we need to appreciate it. Now you follow 2, 3 quick reflections, they are very important. So one of them come immediately. One of them come immediately to come and call Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. And he sat down beneath the tree and he made dua to Allah. Oh Allah, help me. Oh Allah, help me in my situation. Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. He didn't use the opportunity of assisting them to try and get influence out of them. He assisted them and he asked Allah. He assisted them and he asked Allah, Allah, I'm so desperate. In fact, his desperation was of such a level that he didn't say, Rabbi inni lima tanzilu ilayya. Rabbi inni lima anzalta. If you know Arabic grammar, anzalta means pass. Tanzilu means what you'll send down. Oh Allah, you say, you know what, I need this help. You say, how urgent? I need it yesterday. I need it yesterday. Meaning, I've already exhausted my time. That's how desperate I am. So when this girl comes, she comes walking on modesty. And she says, Inna abi yad'uka liyajziyaka ajra ma saqayta lana. Follow quickly. My dad is calling you to compensate you. 2 things. When she calls Musa alayhi salam, asnadat ad-da'wata ila abiha. She didn't say, I'm calling you. It's a strange woman talking to a strange man. She said, my father. to elevate the level of discussion to a formal capacity. Look at the respect in the dialogue. Can you come with me? Now, coming with me creates, it gives room for so many things. A believer is one who carries himself and herself with respect and dignity by the adoption and the expression of words that don't give room to anyone to infiltrate, to create a niche for anything else. My Father is calling you. My Father is calling you. To reward you. Musa alayhi salam didn't say, no, I don't want reward. Inna qabul al-iwadi ba'da al-amali idha lam yakun al-amalu biniyati al-iwadi la yunafi al-ikhlas. The acceptance of a reward post the performance of an action, when the action is not motivated by the return, does not go contrary to the station of sincerity. Islam is pragmatic. Islam is user-friendly. So he did it for the pleasure of Allah. Allah divinely facilitated this. He did not deny or decline. Third thing, when she got to her father, and long story, Dad, why don't we employ him? She displayed amazing modesty. She observed his strength and she observed his modesty. She didn't say employ him because he is modest and he is strong. Because a direct compliment from a strange woman to a strange man can create a sense of flattery. If a strange woman is praising a strange man, you can feel conceited. How strange, your wife praise you, it's boring. Another woman, even when she's crying, I mean, she's crying, she's moaning, somebody else, but her voice is so sweet. She's screaming and yelling, and suddenly her scream is also, so strange and sweet and polite and cute and lovable, and your own wife is cute and polite and thanking you, and to a kachwat. Look at respect. So she said, she didn't say, istajirhu li amanatihi, istajirhu li quwwatihi, istajirhu, inna khayra man istajarta al-qawiyyu al-amin. She diverted, employ him. A good employee is an honest man, with a subtle indication. That's why the ulama say, the minister's wife, her immodesty and lack of bashfulness denied her and deprived her of Yusuf alayhi salam. But the modesty of Shuaib alayhi salam's daughter crowned her to be the spouse of Musa alayhi salam. Anyway, the message for today is, may Allah make us amongst those people, Jarir ibn Abdullah Bajali, who went and paid someone double the price. Because now the aim was to make him happy. To make him happy. May Allah make us amongst those people who can make others happy, and then see how Allah makes you happy. Subhanallah.
Brothers are requested to just remain engaged in dhikr, astaghfar. Jazakumullah khair.